Let's look at part 2 of this training on AWS Cloud Certified Practitioner. Do this training and your concepts will be clear. You will pass the certification. So the first topic for this part is IAM User Policies. Why it is used for. In the certification, you usually get this question where it says, I want to give a minimum set of permissions, or the concept of least privilege. Suppose you went to meet your friend at the TCS campus. Will the security guard give you access to the entire building? No. They will give you access only to the reception so that you can meet your buddy. That is the concept of least privilege. That means only give access to the floor where the job can be done. That's all. Okay. And so the key is always use the least privilege concept. That is the best practice. If you see this principle of least privilege implements segregation of duties. Why we use user policies? These are the purposes. We can regularly review and update policies. See, once you create policy, you should always review it continuously, like every month, maybe every quarter, up to you. And then you create IAM groups. You can enable multi-factor authentication. What does MFA mean? MFA is like, it is not MF kind of, it is multi-factor authentication. That means in spite of you knowing the credential like the username and the password, it will still ask for a code or a OTP. Another important thing is you will be tested in the certification is regularly rotate access keys. What does it mean? It means like it's just similar to you have a password and you change your password every quarter or every 6 months. It is same like that. You have access keys and you rotate it. That means rotation doesn't mean my key goes to you, your key comes to me. No, rotation is like it resets it. So that, why do we rotate? So that bad players, if by any chance they had access to your keys, they will now get refreshed. So that guy cannot access it any further. Now let us look at AWS Consolidated Billing. So suppose you have a finance department, IT team, like what else goes in a company? They have various departments. They have a marketing department, sales department, finance department, HR, IT, and so on. Now each of these departments may have different accounts, but you want the billing to be consolidated at one single place so that you know how much finance team spends, how much IT team spends, and so on. That is done by consolidated billing. I have a bad throat today, so apologies if I cough in between. So usually what happens is you are the father, suppose the father of the home, and you have your wife and you have like 4 or 5 kids. Concept, okay? So it's like, you want to aggregate everything at one place. So your school fees for kid 1, kid 2, kid 3, kid 4, kid 5, you want to aggregate it at one place so that you as a single sponsor or a dual sponsor, if your wife also works, then you guys can like make a collective call as to how much you are spending. You can calculate that at a centralized level. That is what consolidated billing does for you. Now let us look at what is pay as you go. You know what facilities you normally in the real life, you can buy a car or you can rent a car. Rent a car is like pay as you go. You take the car for a day and you think that, hey, you know what, I want it to extend for 3 more days. You can do it. It is pay as you go. Just give the daily rent and use it. In Japan, I saw an episode where girls can rent out a boyfriend. It is purely like that guy would come talk to you, cook food for you, spend some good time, like, and but the hourly rate is very expensive. It is not about the hoochie poochie hodgepodge kind of stuff. It is all about spending good quality time. Okay, so that is also pay as you go. Every hour they charge a few dollars. Like probably the way I saw was it was like $300, $400 per hour. That is what they charge. Okay. So what did they do? Pay as you go. What is pay as you go? It reduces the capex expenses. What it means is you can rent out this boyfriend. You are not going to get married to a guy, and after getting married to that guy, the guy will start putting impositions and rules that this is allowed, this is not allowed, and for which you may not agree, or there are maybe certain things which you may agree. So why to get into that first? A lot of people who stay in a live-in relationship, that is the concept that I don't have much of commitment in place. So that is how what you do. You reduce the capex expenses. Capex means capital expenses. Suppose you want to buy a car, you would have to spend money. Either you take a loan or whatever, but that is your capital expense. That means you pay the the dealer upfront. Upfront. Suppose you are paying $30,000 upfront for a car, but when you rent it out, you're just paying for the daily expenses. Okay. So that means no upfront investment. Okay, you just pay as you go. It is not like your traditional capex expenses. If you have an on-premises infrastructure, on-premises, okay, you have to spend for the hardware you buy. There would be procurement timelines, like if you want to buy a server, etc. It might take a couple of weeks, 4 weeks maybe. So that is expensive. So pay as you go is like less commitment. Another important topic is scalability. What is scalability? It's like, it's kind of a bit of elasticity. Like I can scale up and scale down. So scale up, why should I scale up and scale down? The main reason is, suppose you have been a customer of Amazon.com and you are buying products there. What happens if you go to buy a product and that website is down for 15 minutes? You would most likely switch to a different application. If you are in India, you may do it with flipkart.com, or if you're buying clothes, you might switch to Tata Click, uh, Mintra, or those websites. So for those 15 minutes when Amazon was down, it loses business. It loses business of so many customers who didn't want to wait. Now, some customers would be loyal and say, "Hey, let me try after an hour." That is fine. But some customers, or majority of the customers who have very uh, less patience than the kids as well, they would switch to Mintra and those kind of stuff, and they would make their purchase. Okay, so that is loss of business. So in the context, scalability refers to the ability of an application to handle increased workload. So suppose you are a startup, you started your company and you thought, hey, you know what, if I get 1,000 customers, that will be a happy day for me. 3 months you were happy, but fourth month suddenly your system became viral, and instead of 1,000 customers, you suddenly get 100,000 customers. In India, that is called 1 lakh customers. And is your system able to, you know, cater to those requirements? If you have scalability built in, you can. But if you don't have it, you lose business, and the new people might say, hey, you know what, these guys are new, but their system is not working up to speed. I may not come back to this application. So you might lose business. So you should plan scalability. Even if you are a startup, upfront, you should plan for this. Now, in the certification, you always get scenarios where they are testing a lot of questions. They say, hey, you know what, do it as cheap as possible. You go to your father. Your father always gives you money and says, try to make it as cheap as possible. Try to spend as less as possible, and so on. If you yourself are a father, you know that you are trying to manage the expenses, and if you get a better deal, nothing like it. Okay. Now, one thing that I find very crazy about normally the female population, I'm not against them, they are beautiful people, but what I find is, from a money management perspective, a lot of them, they would save like 5 rupees or 10 rupees on buying vegetables, but then they spend thousands on their makeup and etc., or thousands on their beauty parlor, and they kind of claim that, hey, you know what, I made a good deal out of it, which probably women cannot relate to. But then obviously there are exceptions. Some men spend a lot more. So it is about lower operating costs. So lower the operating cost. Why? Because you want to reduce the over provision instances, use managed services. So what is over provision? That means that, you know what, I told you, gave you an example of startup. You did a startup and you were expecting 1,000 customers, but you had built system to handle 1 lakh or 100,000 customers. That's over provisioning. Even though you don't have more than 1,000 customers in the initial few months, you are still paying for 100,000 customers. So that is over provisioning, and that is something which Amazon always says: do not over provision. Do not over provision. That means just eat, or just put on the plate what you want to eat. The key concepts of not wasting the food: take what you can eat. Okay. If you go to grocery shop, don't go hungry, otherwise you would end up buying stuff that you don't want to eat later. So in the AWS world, you will have to reduce the infrastructure and maintenance cost. AWS says, hey gaddy buddy chaddy buddy, come to managed services. Okay, let us do the thing for you. They have scalable and flexible pricing models. uh, they have good resource utilization, improved operational efficiency. So in the question, trick time. In the question, if you have an opportunity uh, of a custom solution versus a managed services, use managed services as an answer. Okay, that is an important element. The next concept is AWS principle. Why we use it? It is an element of S3 bucket policies, which contains info about users who need to access S3 bucket. That means it is something which, in the certification, you will get such questions where they quiz you about principle. And what it does is, it is always, you should use it in the context of IAM. See, what happens is, anywhere you go, like suppose you're going to a pub and they check your ID card and they give you access, they stamp on your hand, or they tie some paper on your wrist. So that is IAM. That means this guy has been authorized. I have validated this guy, and this guy can enter the pub. Same thing happens here in the AWS principle. IAM. IAM means that this guy has been authorized. I have the details, and this guy can get in and booze. That is that is an example. Okay. So you should use AWS principle. That is something which, when you are creating a bucket policy. What is a bucket policy? That means this guy can access the buckets and this guy cannot access. Suppose if you go to a pub, a very high profile pub, and there is a VIP lounge. So not everybody gets access to the VIP lounge. They have to be a member. They have to be paying some sort of yearly subscription, or they may be categorized as VIPs, and only they get access to the VIP lounges. Now let us look at direct connect. Very important topic for the certification. You would definitely get some questions around this. What is direct connect? You have AWS now, and you have your data centers, or your office. Suppose you work for Ericsson. You have a office and you are working from there, and you want to access AWS services or AWS data centers. What will you do? You most likely will use internet VPN and access it. What is the other way around? The other way around is direct connect. Why do people use direct connect? People use direct connect because they want a dedicated line so that nobody is sharing that line. That means no other people can be on that list. Like internet, you have, it is shared service. This dedicated line will be for you. Okay, the girl will be your wife. Okay, that is fully dedicated to you. Now this line, why do you want that? So that you want the data to be safe when it is transferred from your office to AWS. You want it safe, absolutely safe and secure. That is the purpose. So always remember, this will come in the certification and you should answer it that way. It is a network connection in a hybrid design. What is hybrid? Hybrid means you have on-premises plus you have cloud. What is on-premises? Maybe your Infosys campus, you have some servers, data centers that can be on-premises. Maybe say Bank of America, they have their own data centers, that is on-premises. What is AWS cloud environment? They have data centers in various regions across the world. That is a combination of two. When these two systems talk, that is called hybrid. and it is a service that enables organizations to establish dedicated private and high speed connection. It is absolutely high speed because only you are there. It is dedicated for you. Okay, so you are so special. It is dedicated for you. So if you get special services, boss, listen to me. Will this service be cheap or costly? Will this service be cheap or costly? It is very expensive. It is just like having a wife. Having a girlfriend and having a wife is different. Having a wife is very expensive. Similarly, here, even having a husband is very expensive because you will have to listen to all the tantras mantras of that guy. So it is either ways it is kind of very expensive. You have to devote time, you have to devote money, you have to devote effort, hours, and so on. So direct connect is anything dedicated to you is expensive. Anything special for you is expensive. Okay. So if in the certification people say I want to choose a low cost option for connection, and if you see direct connect, don't use it. The answer most likely would be VPN. Okay. But when the question says they want high speed and this and no mention about cost, go for direct connect. The next question is around what are on-demand instances. On-demand instances like on demand. You need it now, you get it now. You need it now, you get it now. It's like prepaid services. You just go there. And in India, I'm talking about, you suppose you can go to Airtel and refill, just like you want 200 rupees of internet. You can do it. Then it's on demand. You do it now, you get it now. Okay, you recharge it and you get it within like 3 minutes, and it's on demand. Why do we use on demand instances? Why? Because applications that need intermittent, spiky, or unexpected workloads for that. So in the question, if people say, what, at night my workload runs and it between 9 to 11 p.m., you know that is the spike period. I do not go for on demand. You can go for something like reserve instances because you already know the load. But if you don't know the load, you don't know when your father can get angry, or when your professor can get angry, he's short tempered, you don't know, then that means it is intermittent, spiky, unexpected workload. Then you use on demand because whenever the load goes up, the on demand instances would be spawned and your needs will be catered. So this is about EC2 instance we are talking. EC2. Okay, EC2 is like a computer in the virtual world in Amazon. Okay, and you can pay on a hourly basis without long-term commitments or upfront costs. You don't have to make any upfront payment. Whatever you use, you pay for it. There's no long-term commitment. You see how the world has transitioned. In marriage, I mean, there is no marriage because of the commitment. So people do live in and they break up and etc. Even the systems nowadays, these on-demand systems and etc., it is all about no commitment. Okay, so that you mentally feel free, right? If people say you take this, if you don't like it, return it back, you feel free. You will still use it for 2 years, but you will always feel that, hey, you know what, whenever I want to return, I can return. Once you get married, nothing, man. Nobody can return anything. Big volumes of online content. Okay, Netflix, Amazon Prime, this kind of thing. They have big volume of online content. So you will get such questions where they will ask, where should I store it? You should store the files on S3 buckets. What should I use? You should use CloudFront. Whenever you think about OTT platform like Hotstar, Disney Hotstar, or uh, Netflix, Amazon Prime, you should think about CloudFront. Why CloudFront? Because that is the service which helps you with providing globally very high performance and lowest latency. Suppose you have Netflix and you are trying to watch some episode and the speed is not high. Would you stick there? No, you would switch to Amazon Prime and see where the speed is, because you have a attention span of a kid. You would not want to be idle for even a second. So that is why people understood that, and they told we will give a speed. We will not. Well, there was a time when, like 10, 15 years back, even in the US, we had an option of buffering stuff, and then we buffer and then play it. Okay, but not now, and YouTube is way too faster. Now let us look at another service called CloudTrail, and this is something which you will get in the questions. If you want to monitor illegal API calls, so there will be questions around like, I want to monitor the API activity. What should I use? You should use CloudTrail. You should use CloudTrail. You should use CloudTrail to monitor API activities. Okay, so this is all about monitoring and logging API activities. It is like you have a security guard in your apartment complex. Okay, who came in, who went out. They will have a history of everything. If you want to know who came in, who went out during that time for any sort of investigation or troubleshooting, you can do that. Same here. You can go to the CloudTrail logs and look at like which API made a call. Was it a read call? Was it a write call? Was it a delete call? And so on. So when we were talking about scalability, we are talking about auto scaling, easy to auto scale. You will get questions around this. So what does it means is uh, it will help you with dynamic resource adjustment and change in demand. That means your demands are not regular kind of thing. Sometimes people access it, sometimes it just spikes way too aggressively, sometimes it goes down. Use a service from AWS called EC2 auto scaling. This will help you adjust the number of EC2 instances. So it happens like you have suppose these three instances here, these three, and if you have more workloads, it will spawn more instances. If the workload goes away, it will just remove these EC2 instances. That is called auto scaling. Scalability is achieved using auto scaling. Edge locations, for example, you again, I'm giving you an example of Netflix. You have a attention span of a kid. You cannot wait for buffering and those things. You want it as fast as possible. Okay, so what will you do? You use edge locations. Why? Because it gives you lowest latency experience. Okay, very good for uh, uh, websites like YouTube, okay, Pornhub, X videos, and so on. Plus, I mean, I'm no shy in naming those because those are systems which are based on a lot of similar technologies. And then AWS applications, they refer to data center facility, and that is a part of Amazon's content delivery network. So CDN is very important. To always remember, edge locations is used in conjunction with CloudFront. Okay, and where are these located? These are strategically located around the world to bring content closest to end users. So maybe it may happen that there may be, suppose you are staying in Bangalore, there may be a couple of edge locations there, so that people in Bangalore watching Netflix, the video might be kept there itself, so that you get the lowest latency. Okay, the traffic in Bangalore is not fast, but internet will always be fast. Don't worry. Now your husband is hitting you. What do? Go to the cop. There is an abuse team there. Similarly, here AWS, it can be reverse also. Nowadays, wife also hit husband, so it can be reverse also. AWS abuse team. What happens? Abuse team. What it is going to do for you? It is a basic support plan users find. Resources are being used for an unauthorized purpose. Unauthorized purpose means somebody is trying to use these resources for hacking. You came to know. Now what to do? Whom to tell? Will you tell it to Prime Minister Modi? Will you tell it to Rahul Gandhi? No, boss. Go to the AWS abuse team and tell them that, boss, your resources are being misused. So this is a anti-abuse team. It is a dedicated team within AWS. Okay, obviously they will not allow external people. It is AWS employees. It will check what kind of abuse is happening. Is it issues, violations of AWS acceptable usage policy? They will investigate potential abuse, take appropriate action, ensure compliance. Okay, so for example, you are putting a banking system there, and you have purposely uh, not used the firewall services and so on, and then somebody says, hey, you know what, this seems to be an abuse because you are, sitting like a idle duck to be shot. Okay, now AWS highly available architecture. What is highly available, man? Highly available means, see, in college days there were some guys or girls. I don't know about girls because we hardly had any interaction with them. But at least guys I knew, there will be one or two guys who will be there for you for everything. They are highly available for you. You have a problem that you want to discuss, any sort of counseling, any sort of tips to put off a girl, everything you will get through them. So those guys were highly available. Here also the system should be highly available. Why? To accommodate failure of any single component. That is one key concept of highly available architecture. That means if one component fails, like if the guy's leg is broken, no problem. He will still counsel you over phone. He is highly available. Why do we use it? We always suggest. So this is important for certification. When the question comes that I have to accommodate failures, what should I do? A highly available architecture. You can design, build highly available architectures to provide what? Fault tolerance. That means if anything goes wrong, I can still be up and running. Amazon.com. That does it. Is it like nothing goes wrong? No, boss. It might be every week something goes wrong. But they have a very highly available architecture, so you never come to know. That is continuous availability. Like the guy who was giving emotional support every day to so many people in the college, was he not emotionally broken anytime? He was. He never told you. You never came to know about that. Same way, this is called highly available architecture. Now you will get some questions around this service, AWS RDS for SQL Server, and the question will be around like, you have an on-premises SQL Server, you want to migrate it to AWS. Where will you do it? See, on-premises, old days you had SQL Server. Now you have to bring it to cloud. You put it in RDS for SQL Server. What is RDS? It is a relational database. It is not a NoSQL database. My friend, don't get confused in the certification. Always remember, this is a relational database, not a NoSQL database. NoSQL is like what? Cassandra, MongoDB. SQL base means you can write a select query and it will run. If you do not, you are from that background that you do not understand select queries, then I would say go to Google and see some select queries. SQL, ANSI SQL, SQL 92. You can see some queries. Basically, there are tables. Queries are used to query the tables. Okay. So what is a good thing about this? This is a fully managed service. So you don't have to, uh, you know, um, kind of work on the how the operating system patches are done, or kind of how do you provision stuff. It is taken care by you. So what all you can do? Is it just SQL Server you can move? No, boss. No. You can move MySQL. You can move MariaDB. You can move PostgreSQL, Oracle database, SQL Server. Plus, now they have a new version of Aurora. This was not existing anytime. This is a new thing Amazon has created. Why? Amazon created this. Why? Because they want, this is a serverless database. Even database is serverless. See, EC2 instances is serverful. Lambda is serverless. Okay, you don't have to worry about where I'm running this. No. Similarly, Aurora gives you a serverless flavor. Loose coupling. What is loose coupling? Don't get tight coupled. Don't get married. That is tight coupling. I'm giving you just an example because I cannot think of any other example. After working for 12 hours today, I'm still making this video, so pardon me if you don't like these examples. Okay. Plus, at my age, you can only think about such examples. Okay. So loose coupling is like if you're married, it is tightly coupled. That means if anybody has to go out, the family will be kind of going through a turmoil. The kids will have to be explained what is happening, etc. So that is tight coupling. The system falls apart. If you think divorce does not take the system apart, you are wrong, my friend. Divorce takes the system apart. I have seen so many of my good friends in America. They got divorced, and it's not a good thing. Now I can understand that there will be scenarios where your partner is kind of not great, and you already had problems and etc. So that is up to you. But loose coupling is like you do not have much of commitment. Okay, loose couple is like the systems, even if they, suppose you are living in a live-in and one partner moves away, nothing happens much. It is loosely coupled. You still go to office, you still have nice time with your friends, have a beer and etc. It is loosely coupled. Why we recommend loosely coupled? So that you avoid cascading failures. If you husband and wife they have a divorce, the cascading effect goes on the children and their school, and then the houses. Now somebody has to move out of the house, and then on your parents, the parents don't like it. So there are so many cascading failures between the components. So loose coupling, it is a design element, architecting and a design element. And what we tell as a part of this is do not create a lot of interdependencies. We do not create a lot of interdependencies. In much like our traditional concept, no? Mo Maya, just be away from Mo and Maya, that dependency kind of stuff. In college days, many times people used to say, "Hey, that friend is not talking to me, so I'm feeling sad." But there will be people who don't care if he is not talking or she is not talking. Okay, I'll move on. I'll watch TV. I'll watch Netflix and so on. So that is called loose coupling. Now, what is cloud agility? See, nowadays everybody is talking about agile deployment, agile. Okay. Now you might have seen your project managers. If you yourself are a project manager, pardon me for this statement, but nowadays project manager in Indian IT companies or like whatever Indian delivery centers, they are all talking about agile only. They think agile is some Einstein kind of thing. That is the most dumb thing I have seen. Agile. Okay, and if you are a project manager and if you are conducting meetings after meetings on how great agile is, believe me, you are wasting your time on earth. Believe me, man. Get into technology. Just because technology is hard, you are fooling people explaining agile technologies or agile methodologies. So enough of GAN. Cloud agility, you decrease acquisition time for resources. That means what? You want to add some hardware in your on-premises. You will put up a requisition request. Vendors will be sorted out, and then you will choose a vendor. That guy will deliver it. So it takes 2 to 3 months in that process. So in today's world, who has time, man? You have to grow fast, right? You don't have time. So go to cloud. Cloud agility. You want resources, you can create EC2 instance very fast. You can move your files to AWS S3 object storage very fast and so on. So what it does is it provides speed, flexibility, efficiency with other organizations and etc. Now there is another question around WAF. Around this you will get a lot of questions. WAF. What is this WAF? It will see whenever you see the word SQL injection, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, WAF is the answer. It is a firewall, simple. It is a firewall on AWS. It will help you with from common web-based attacks. How? It will look and filter the HTTP and HTTPS request before they reach your application. Okay. If a thief is trying to get to your house, you have the security guard in between who creates a firewall kind of thing. That guy cannot get into the campus. That's how thieves are kept outside. Same concept is here also. Now you might say, hey, my laptop already has a firewall. Infosys and TCS, no, they have installed firewall. Yes, buddy, we are talking about Amazon Cloud infrastructure firewall there for your applications, not on your laptop. Okay, okay, got it. What is AWS Connect? Do not confuse between Direct Connect and AWS Connect. This is a contact center, cloud-based contact center. Suppose you want to start a customer support company. What will you do? You need some IT systems and etc. Will you buy like 10 kind of products and do it? No, boss, come here. Boss, come here on AWS. Use AWS Connect and set that up. Simple. Got it? So I've just given you a business idea. If you are a Gujarati, I'm pretty sure this must have rung some bell. If you are not already doing a business, this is a good business idea. Okay. But then you should know English very well, not like me. Okay, you should know it very well so that you'll sound very attractive on the phone. Your people should sound attractive. Then Kinesis data analytics. Okay, so this is something which is common in the certification. Why we use it? Stream user data and reply in real time. Because so whenever you see the word real time, kinesis, kinesis equals real time. Kinesis equals real time. Kinesis equals real time. What is real time? You have IoT devices, suppose sensors. You have like petroleum pipes going from Iran to Bombay. Okay, what happens in between? There are so many sensors checking if there is a leakage and so on, etc. It comes through, I think, Afghanistan also. So if somebody bombs and breaks that pipe, or leakage happens, or whatever, the pipe got busted for some other reasons, for temperature or something, earthquake and etc., you should come to know that, right? That real time analytics, real time, you will get that data through IoT devices. Kinesis will run it and say, hey, it seems that there is a pipe burst, and immediate fix is needed. So immediately a call will go to the engineer who is based in that location, and that guy will go and see, okay, a pipe burst happened, let me fix it immediately. Okay. So data analytics is a fully managed service. Okay, AWS will manage it for you. What it does is it enables you to analyze streaming data. See, one thing is, normally what do we do for analytics? We get the data from the file, we move it to a database like Redshift and etc., and then plug some quick site reporting tool, and that is a stale method. By the time you create the report, fire is already there. The pipe busted and it also caught fire, and everything is gone now. That will not work for such systems. You want real time. You want to stop it real time. You remember Bhopal gas tragedy? Somebody, if there was a real time alerting system, somebody would have immediately given and tried to do some damage control. Okay, that scenario should not occur. That's why we are saying, on real time data, while the data has come, it will immediately do analytics using Kinesis data analytics and say, hey, something is wrong, you need immediate attention. That is the concept. Now another question that you might get is on code commit. What is code commit? It is a GitHub within AWS. It is a GitHub within AWS. It is a private to AWS. See, you have written a Python code. You can go to GitHub and create a version there. Okay, or you can do it in AWS code commit. Why will you go to GitHub and make everything public there? Or even if you can create IDs and make it private, why will you go outside of AWS world and do it? AWS says, boss, I am giving you in this world, in my world itself, I'm giving you a repository. Use it. Don't go to GitHub. But can't I put my code in GitHub if I'm using AWS? No, boss, you can do that. Okay, you don't worry, you can do that also. We are giving you all privilege. It is like, uh, if you like chole bhature, can't you eat a burger? You can eat both, right? If you like food, you can eat both. You can eat both. Except people above 60 in India, usually I see whenever they travel to America also, they will always scream, hey, can I get a rice dal, rice sambar, rice rasam? They will crib as if they cannot eat a burger even for a day. So I have seen so many parents there. Okay, it is so difficult to manage. It is like, we always preach diversity, diversity, but nobody likes diversity. South Indian guy comes to North India, starts screaming, hey, I am not getting idli dosa. North Indian guy goes to South India, he starts screaming, he's saying, I'm not getting chole bhature. Boss, then where is that diversity gone? There is another service, code deploy. What is it, code deploy? Code deploy, you have heard about a word called CI/CD pipeline, CD, continuous deployment. So there are other services now, like Jenkins, Bamboo, and etc. This, yeah, what AWS is saying. See, what AWS has done is, for any such service, they have created a replica here. They are saying, boss, I have everything. See, earlier sweet shops, some shops, they are famous for rasgulla. Some shops are famous for kasundi and so on. Then what happened is, one big shop comes and they say, boss, we'll sell all type of sweets. Don't go anywhere. That shop is Amazon. They are saying, we have everything here. You don't go anywhere. Don't go to Jenkins. Don't buy Jenkins. I'll give you everything here. And that is why it is so popular, because it is just one stop shop. You get inside Walmart, You know Walmart in US, you get inside Walmart, you will get everything, okay, except car and bikes, you will get most of the things. Along with that, you will also get an Indian, Chinese guy, and people from Afro origin. You will definitely get these three people there, okay, somewhere or the other in Walmart, at least, uh, whatever I have seen. So that means Walmart is it has diverse employees. It is doing good with diversity. Now you see, if you want to create, you will get such question. They say we want to create virtual desktop solution. What should we use? You should use Workspace. Simple. This is fully managed, secure, reliable virtual desktop for every load. Okay, this is the virtual desktop in AWS Workspace. Now you can get questions where it says that, hey, you know what? I want to change my support plans. So if you want to change the support plan, use account root user. Okay. See, you should never use root user for anything. Even for administration tasks, you should not use it. But a question will check, I want to change my support plan. What should I do? Use account root user to change it. Or it may ask reverse also. I'm having account root user using this. What should I change? You should not change anything except the support plans, because account root user is so special. It should only be used for special work. Only be used for special work. Now you will get questions like, I want to reduce latency for users in different geographic areas. Okay, different geographic areas. The moment you see different geographic areas, you tell, okay, if that is the case, I'll give you multi-region deployment. Okay, what is multi-region deployment? That means, see, if we are dealing with Bank of America, and Bank of America has end users in USA and India, so we will roll out the system in both the regions, in USA also and India also. This is called multi-region deployment, so that the users in India can get their data from the data centers in India, and the users in US can get the data from the data centers in US. Simple. That is the purpose of multi-region. Another question you get, we want to create, maintain, and secure APIs at scale. See, whenever you talk about so many APIs, see, where do you use APIs? For example, I remember I was working for a system, and that system we always wanted to check the latest exchange rate, dollar to rupees or pound to dollars and so on. So what we did is, we had an API, and we there was a external system. The external system exposed the API, and we just call it, and they will charge per second on the use, and we will get the refreshed data. That's how you use it. So here you will use API gateway. It can manage all APIs at scale. Now there will be one question where it says, you will only get one question around this. This is not very important. And you will not get so many questions, but you will get one question, and this is very tricky one. Normally nobody has heard about IQ. See, IQ, what it does is, you want to work on Amazon project and you want some people, you can go to AWS IQ and get those freelancers. They will work for you. They are all certified people, pro kind of people, extensively working on AWS. They will work for you. So if you want freelancers, you can go to AWS IQ and get it. See, you might get questions around like, which service is responsible for maintaining the underlying operating system? Which service? You are responsible for maintaining the underlying operating system. It is easy to, because you have to do the patchwork there. See, another question you might wonder, I have seen this question also where, they might ask you to say that, will AWS support help you with database queries? So it will not. So what does AWS support help you? It will help you with troubleshooting APIs, solve EC2 health check problems, answer how to questions on AWS, like how can I suppose you use RDS, how can I use a Redshift, and how to questions it will answer. But it will not help you with tuning your database queries. That is your work. Okay, that is your work. If you are not able to do, hire an expert from AWS IQ. Those freelancers will work for you. So this brings us to the end of part 2. If you have not yet subscribed, and if you are not a member, see Cloud Kernel or Cloud Ninja membership, take it. You will get access to some good question sets. Together, it will help you clear the certification. If you are serious about it, if you are not serious about clearing the certification, then don't take the membership. If you want to clear the certification, take the membership. Okay. So we will see you in the next part.